Welcome back to Z Coins today. We are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in American numismatic history, the 1965 Washington quarter. Believe it or not, one of these coins reportedly sold for a jaw-dropping $2.17 million. That's right. A coin you might find in your pocket change could be worth a life-changing amount of money. So buckle up as we uncover the mystery, history, and market secrets behind the 1965 quarter. Part 1. The background, 0:45 to understand why the 1965 Washington quarter is so special. We need to go back in time. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. These coins were originally made of 90% silver and 10% copper. A beautiful and valuable composition that lasted through 1964. But everything changed in 1965. Due to a nationwide coin shortage and skyrocketing silver prices, the U.S. Mint made a bold decision. In 1965, they eliminated silver from the quarter's composition entirely. The new quarters were made of a copper-nickel clad, much less valuable in terms of metal content. The silver era had ended. Or had it? Part 2. The transition year mystery. 1:45. Here's where things get interesting. 1965 was a transitional year. The mint was in a rush to produce the new clad coins and phase out the silver ones. However, in the chaos of this transition, some quarters were mistakenly struck on 90% silver planchets, leftover blanks intended for 1964 quarters. That's right. Silver quarters bearing the 1965 date do exist. And they are some of the rarest and most valuable errors in modern U.S. coinage. Imagine this: a coin that should not exist, accidentally created during a pivotal moment in monetary history and unknowingly released into circulation. That is the origin story behind the legendary 1965 silver quarter. Part 3. Spotting the $1,000,000 quarter. 2:45. Now, you might be wondering, how can you tell if your 1965 quarter is one of the rare silver ones? The first and most important test is the weight. A clad 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, while the silver version weighs around 6.25 grams. That small difference makes a huge impact. You'll need a precision scale to detect it. Second, listen for the ring. Silver coins have a higher-pitched, bell-like ring when dropped on a hard surface, whereas clad coins sound duller. Third, examine the edge. Clad quarters have a visible copper-colored stripe along the edge, while silver quarters appear solid and uniform in color. If your coin is heavy, rings like a bell, and lacks the copper edge, congratulations. You might be holding a coin worth a fortune. Part 4. The record-breaking sale. 3:45. Now let's talk about the $1,000,000 coin. In 2021, a collector stunned the numismatic world when a pristine silver 1965 Washington quarter was reportedly sold in a private sale for an astronomical $2.17 million. Why was it so valuable? It wasn't just the metal content or the date. It was the rarity, the condition, and the historical importance. The coin was in near-perfect condition, graded MS-68 by a top-tier grading service. Only a handful of silver-struck 1965 quarters are known to exist, and even fewer in such remarkable quality. Combine that with collector demand and the coin's backstory, and you've got a seven-figure treasure. Part 5. Market value and your quarter. 5:00. Not all 1965 quarters are worth millions, of course. Most are worth face value. But certain errors and high-grade examples can bring hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Let's break it down. A regular 1965 quarter in circulated condition is worth about 25 cents. A nice uncirculated one might fetch between $5 and $15. However, a high-grade specimen in MS-65 or better can command upwards of $100 or more. Silver planchet errors? Now you're talking thousands to millions, depending on condition and verification. Double dies, off-center strikes, and other mint errors from 1965 are also highly collectible and can range from a few hundred to several $1,000s. Part 6. How to check your change. 6:15. So how do you start hunting for these rare treasures? Simple. Start checking your change. Go through rolls of quarters from the bank. Weigh every 1965 quarter you find. Invest in a good scale and a magnifying glass. Study mint errors and know what to look for. You never know. A $2.17 million coin could be sitting in a coin jar on your kitchen counter right now. Conclusion. 7:00 The 1965 Washington quarter is a reminder that incredible history and value can be hiding in plain sight. What looks like an ordinary coin might just be one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever struck by the U.S. Mint. From its roots in the silver era to the confusion of the 1965 transition, this coin represents a unique moment in American currency. So keep your eyes open, your scale handy, and your curiosity alive, because the next legendary find might just be in your pocket. We're diving deep into the incredible story behind one of the most unexpected and mind-blowing discoveries in modern U.S. coinage, the 1985 Washington quarter. That's right, a coin that you might have spent on a soda or parking meter could actually be worth over $2.16 million. Sounds crazy, right? But there's more to this story than meets the eye. So buckle up and stay tuned, because you might have a fortune hiding in your loose change. Chapter 1. Origins of the Washington quarter. Let's start at the beginning. The Washington quarter was first minted in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of our first president, George Washington. Designed by John Flanagan, the obverse features the familiar profile of Washington, while the reverse originally depicted a bald eagle with outstretched wings. By the time 1985 rolled around, this design had become a staple in every American's pocket. The quarter had already gone through decades of circulation and countless changes in production, including the transition from silver to clad composition in 1965. Chapter 2. The 1985 quarter, a common coin. On the surface, the 1985 Washington quarter is nothing special. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, over 775 million of these coins were produced that year. That's right, over 750 million quarters flooded into circulation in 1985. So why is one of them being talked about as a multi-million-dollar treasure? Let's look at the details. Chapter 3. What makes a coin valuable? To understand why certain coins are worth more than face value, you need to know what numismatists look for. Key factors include mintage numbers, how many were made condition or grade, ranging from circulated to mint state, or even proof mint errors, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or planchet errors. Rarity, both in quantity and variety. Historical or collector interest. The 1985 quarter doesn't seem rare at first glance, but when it comes to value, condition, and unique features can be game changers. Chapter 4. The $2.16 million quarter, myth or masterpiece. Here's where things get fascinating. According to multiple collector forums and online auction buzz, a specimen of the 1985 quarter allegedly sold for a staggering $2.16 million. The reason? An incredibly rare mint error combined with near-perfect condition. While exact details are kept somewhat private due to the nature of the collector's market, it's believed that the quarter in question featured an ultra-rare double-die obverse and was graded MS 68 or higher, which is nearly flawless. There's also speculation that the planchet may have been a transitional error, meaning the coin was accidentally struck on a blank intended for a different denomination, possibly even a 90% silver planchet from a previous era. Combine those attributes with historical interest, and you've got a once-in-a-generation rarity. Chapter 5. How to identify a valuable 1985 quarter. So, how do you know if your 1985 quarter is the golden ticket? Here's what to look for. Examine the obverse for doubling, especially in the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." A genuine double die can multiply the value many times over. Check the edges and weight. If the coin weighs more or less than the standard 5.67 grams, it could indicate a planchet error. Look for overall condition. If your coin has never been circulated and has minimal marks, it might qualify for a high mint state grade. Use a jeweler's loupe or microscope to inspect for die cracks, lamination errors, or repunched mint marks. Consider professional grading. Send your coin to PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. If it scores high and has a rare error, you could be sitting on a jackpot. Chapter 6. Current Market Value and Auction Trends. While the infamous $2.16 million sale is extremely rare and exceptional, even regular 1985 P quarters in high mint state condition can fetch between $50 and $2,000 depending on grade. Error coins have sold for thousands, with values climbing as more collectors become aware of the potential. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Great Collections have sold high-grade 1985 P quarters with exceptional provenance for staggering amounts, and the trend isn't slowing down. With the coin-collecting community booming online and on social media, demand for rare U.S. coins is higher than ever. Chapter 7. Coin collecting, not just a hobby, but an investment. What this story teaches us is simple. Coin collecting isn't just a pastime, it's an investment opportunity. Imagine pulling a $2 million coin out of your pocket change. It's happened before, and it could happen again. All it takes is a trained eye, some patience, and a little bit of luck. So the next time you're counting quarters for laundry or grabbing a handful from the change jar, take a moment to look closely. That common-looking 1985 P quarter might just be the key to a life-changing payday. We're diving deep into the fascinating story of the 1983 D Washington quarter dollar, a modern coin that has shocked the numismatic world with its value, rarity, and rich backstory. If you think modern coins aren't worth big money, this quarter might just change your mind. So sit tight. Grab your favorite beverage, and let's uncover what makes this coin so special and why collectors are paying a premium for it in today's market. Let's start with some history. The Washington quarter has been in circulation since 1932. Originally released to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. Over the years, the design has undergone several changes, but the obverse, featuring Washington's profile, has remained relatively consistent. Now fast forward to 1983, a year that might seem ordinary for coin production, but holds a surprising secret. The 1983 D Washington quarter was minted in Denver, as indicated by the D mint mark. But here's the twist. 1983 was smack in the middle of a U.S. coin production era plagued by budget cuts, quality control issues, and a huge shift in how coins were distributed and saved. In 1982 and 1983, the U.S. Mint did not release traditional mint sets. That's a big deal. You see, collectors often rely on these annual sets to obtain pristine examples of coins from each mint. But without mint sets in 1982 and 1983, high-quality uncirculated coins became much harder to come by. Most 1983 quarters, including those from the Denver Mint, entered circulation immediately, meaning they were used, spent, and often worn down before anyone thought twice. This created a scarcity of high-grade 1983 D quarters. So today, finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition is extremely difficult, and that's exactly why this coin is worth serious money if it's in the right condition. Now let's talk about what collectors look for. First is condition. A 1983 D quarter in average circulated condition is only worth its face value, 25 cents. But when it comes in higher grades, such as mint state 65 or above, the value jumps significantly. Coins graded MS 67 or higher are extremely rare and can fetch hundreds, sometimes even thousands, of dollars at auction. To give you a real example, in recent years, 1983 D quarters graded MS 67 by PCGS or NGC have sold for as much as $500 or more. Even more impressive, in certain sales, this coin has gone for over $1,000, depending on demand and competition among bidders. But it doesn't stop there. There's also the legendary 1983 D quarter with a full strike and exceptional luster, sometimes referred to as a condition rarity. These coins are almost flawless under magnification, with strong detail, no major scratches or bag marks, and a clean strike from a fresh die. These elite examples are the cream of the crop, and they are what auction houses and serious collectors dream of finding. And here's another twist. The 1983 D quarter is also known for a few interesting errors and varieties. Some coins were struck on improperly prepared planchets or have double dies. There are also off-center strikes and even coins struck on the wrong metal, known as transitional errors. These mistakes can skyrocket the coin's value if authenticated and graded. So, what's the current market value in 2025 as of today? A 1983 D Washington quarter in circulated condition is still worth about 25 cents, nothing special there. But in uncirculated grades, MS-65 quarters are often worth between $20 and $40. In MS-66, you're looking at around $80 to $150. And in MS-67 or above, the value can easily exceed $400, and in some rare cases, go well over $1,000 depending on appeal, toning, and demand. If you happen to find a rare variety or a coin with a known error, the value could increase dramatically. So, what should you look for in your pocket change? Check for the D mint mark, located on the obverse, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Look for a coin with a sharp strike, minimal wear, and no major scratches. If it looks unusually well preserved or even has rainbow toning, it might be worth getting it professionally graded by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC. If you're lucky enough to come across a coin that could be MS-66 or better, don't spend it. Get it looked at. It might be the hidden gem sitting right in your pocket or CoinJar.so. To sum it all up, the 1983 D Washington quarter is a modern sleeper coin. It's not silver, it's not ancient, but its value is driven by scarcity in high grades, the absence of mint sets in 1983, and the growing demand from collectors seeking a top-tier example. Whether you're a new collector or a seasoned numismatist, this is one coin you don't want to overlook. Spotlight is on a coin that many people overlook, but collectors are always hunting: the 1990 D Washington $quarter coin. Don't go anywhere, because this seemingly ordinary coin might just be worth way more than 25 cents. Let's begin with a bit of history. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932, honoring the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. It quickly became a staple in American currency and has been in circulation ever since. But in 1990, something interesting happened. While the coin still featured the familiar image of George Washington on the front and an eagle on the back, minted in Denver as indicated by the D mint mark, certain versions of this coin were struck with unique characteristics, some of which now make them extremely valuable. Now let's talk about why the 1990 D Washington quarter matters today. In its standard form, this coin was produced in massive numbers. The Denver Mint alone struck over 927 million of these quarters. So how could a coin that common be worth more than face value? The answer lies in its condition, rarity, and most importantly, minting errors. Some 1990 D quarters were struck with off-center designs, double dies, or weak strikes. These are factory mistakes that occurred during the coin production process, and collectors pay top dollar for them. For example, a 1990 D quarter with a double die error on the reverse, meaning the eagle appears slightly doubled or shifted, has sold for hundreds of dollars, depending on how clear the doubling is. Another with a 10% off-center strike fetched over $1,000 at auction. That's right, one single quarter sold for over $1,000. Even without errors, the value of a 1990 D quarter can be high if it is in pristine condition. Coin collectors use a grading system from 1 to 70, with higher numbers representing better preserved coins. A 1990 D quarter in mint state condition, graded MS-67 or higher, can sell for $50 to several $100. One MS-67 coin sold for around $200. And if you find one graded MS-68, which is extremely rare, you're looking at a value closer to $1,000 or more. Why do collectors pay so much for these coins? Because finding a quarter from 1990 that has survived decades without any scratches, dents, or wear is incredibly rare. Most people use quarters for parking meters, vending machines, or daily transactions, which means the coins wear down quickly. But if you find one that looks untouched, sharp edges, glossy luster, no signs of handling, you may have found a mini jackpot. Let's also not forget about full strike details. Collectors especially value coins with strong, full details on both the obverse and reverse sides. That means a clear, crisp portrait of Washington on the front and a detailed eagle with fully visible feathers on the back. These are features you can check for with a magnifying glass right at home. So, how can you tell if your 1990D Washington quarter is valuable? First, check for any visible errors like doubling, off-center designs, or odd metal coloration. Second, look at the overall condition. Is the coin shiny? Are the details sharp? If so, it might be worth sending to a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. For a small fee, they can authenticate and grade your coin, and that official grade can significantly increase the resale value. As of right now in the collector's market, the 1990D Washington quarter in average circulated condition is still worth about 25 cents. But if it's in uncirculated condition or features a rare error, it could be worth anywhere from $50 to over $1,000. The current auction record for a perfect MS-68 example sits at over $1,500. Before you rush off to check your coin jars and drawers, remember this: the key to coin collecting isn't just finding rare coins, it's understanding them. The more you learn about mint marks, grading, and coin history, the better your chances of spotting a hidden treasure. So next time you get change at the store or go through your old coin stash, keep your eyes peeled for the 1990D Washington quarter. Because that little coin in your hand could be worth a lot more than you ever imagined. We dive deep into the world of coins, history, and hidden treasures that could be sitting right in your pocket. Today, we're shining the spotlight on a coin you may have handled hundreds of times without realizing its true potential, the 1997p Washington quarter. Now, you might be thinking, how could a quarter from 1997 be worth anything more than 25 cents? It's not even that old, right? Well, prepare to be surprised, because some of these coins are worth a lot more than face value. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just a curious enthusiast, you're going to want to hear the full story. So sit back and let's get into it. Let's begin with the basics. The 1997p Washington quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. That's what the small letter P stands for, located just to the right of George Washington's ponytail on the obverse, or head side of the coin. In total, over 595 million of these quarters were minted in Philadelphia that year. That's a massive number, which usually means the coin is common and not especially valuable. But as always in numismatics, the real story lies in the details. Because not all 1997p quarters are created equal. Let's talk about design. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. For decades, the coin kept the same design, a profile of Washington on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan, and an eagle with outstretched wings on the reverse. By 1997, this design was on its final run. The following year, the U.S. Mint launched the 50-state quarters program, replacing the traditional reverse with rotating state designs. So the 1997 quarter marks the end of an era, the last full year before this massive change in U.S. coinage history. But let's move from history into what everyone really wants to know. What makes some 1997p quarters worth real money? There are two major factors: condition and errors. First, condition. High-grade uncirculated quarters from 1997 can be surprisingly valuable. These are coins that were never used in everyday transactions. They were either pulled straight from mint rolls or preserved by collectors from the beginning. In professional coin grading, the highest quality coins receive grades from MS-60 to MS-70, with MS-70 being a perfect, flawless coin. Most circulated quarters you find in your pocket might grade somewhere around MS-50 or below. Now here's the money talk. A 1997p Washington quarter graded MS-65 can sell for around $10 to $20. But if you're lucky enough to find one in MS-67 or higher, you could be looking at $50, even $100, and that's for a coin that originally cost just 25 cents. But the real jackpot is in the rare errors and varieties. Let's take a look at some examples. One of the most sought-after errors in the 1997p quarter is the double die obverse, where parts of the design appear to be doubled. This type of mint error happens when the die itself is struck more than once at slightly different angles during the production process. On the 1997 quarter, Doubling can be seen on the lettering or numbers, especially the word Liberty or the date. These coins, depending on the severity of the doubling, can be worth anywhere from $50 to several $100s. Another error that collectors go wild for is the off-center strike. If the coin wasn't perfectly aligned during minting, the image and lettering can appear pushed to one side. These off-center coins vary in value depending on how far the image is shifted. A minor shift might only be worth $10, but a dramatic off-center error, say 30% off or more, can be worth well over $100. Then there's the die cracks and cuds, areas where the minting die develops breaks or defects, leaving raised lines or blobs on the coin. These are not only valuable, but each one is unique. Collectors love these one-of-a-kind mistakes. Some 1997 P quarters with dramatic die cracks have sold for $20 to $50, depending on visibility and placement. Now let's talk about what these coins are selling for right now in today's market. As of mid-2025. Prices for the highest graded 1997 P quarters certified by professional grading services are reaching impressive numbers. An MS-68 example sold at auction for over $200. Even MS-67 coins regularly fetch $50 to $75 on platforms like eBay and heritage auctions. Error coins, as always, are in high demand. A double die obverse example recently sold for just under $200. Off-center strikes continue to trend upward in value, especially as new collectors enter the hobby and demand grows for unusual coins. So, what should you look for in your change? First, grab a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Inspect the date, lettering, and edges for any signs of doubling or misalignment. Look closely at George Washington's profile, especially the eye, lips, and ponytail, as these areas often show doubling first. Next, check the coin's edges. If it looks thick or irregular, it could be an off-center strike or even a broad strike, another rare error type. And of course, always check the overall condition. A clean, bright, uncirculated coin stands a much better chance of being worth money than one that's scratched or worn. So to wrap it up, yes, the 1997 P Washington quarter might seem like just another coin, but hidden among the ordinary are true rarities that collectors are hunting for right now. Whether it's a mint error, a pristine high-grade example, or just a coin from the last year of a classic design, the 1997 P quarter is absolutely worth a closer look. We uncover the hidden gems in your pocket change. If you're a collector or even just someone who enjoys discovering valuable treasures in everyday life, this video is for you. Today, we're diving deep into the story and market value of the 2001 D Washington quarter. But this isn't just any quarter. This coin carries the date 2001 with a small mint mark D, which tells us it was struck at the Denver Mint. But it also commemorates a major milestone in American history, 1791, the year marking the founding of Washington, D.C. This special quarter is part of the 50 State Quarters program that ran from 1999 to 2008, one of the most popular coin series ever released by the U.S. Mint. So, what makes the 2001 D1791 Washington quarter so special? Why are collectors willing to pay hundreds or even thousands of dollars for the right one? Let's go back to the basics. In 2001, the U.S. Mint released 5 quarters: New York, North Carolina, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Kentucky. But the one we're talking about today, the Washington, D.C. commemorative with the date 1791, is actually part of a special issue or design variant that was struck in extremely limited quantities and sometimes misidentified in circulation. Some collectors refer to these as error coins or transitional design pieces. Others see them as part of the rare category of misstrikes and double dies that occurred during the intense minting schedule of the early 2000s. Now here's where it gets interesting. The Denver Mint, where the 2001 D quarters were struck, produced over 400 million Washington quarters that year. But within that huge number, a very small percentage included errors, misstrikes, off-center designs, and double die obverse, all of which can make your coin much more valuable. Let's talk numbers. A regular 2001 D Washington quarter in circulated condition is only worth its face value, 25 cents. Even in uncirculated condition, Most are only worth between $1 and $2. However, certain rare varieties and errors have fetched serious money at auction. A double die error, where the image or lettering appears doubled due to a die malfunction, can sell for between $100 and $300 depending on condition. Off-center strikes, where the image is not aligned properly, can be worth up to $500 if the error is severe enough and the date is still visible. But here's the jackpot. In 2021, one specific 2001 D quarter with a dramatic double die reverse, graded MS67 by PCGS, sold at auction for over $1,200. That's right, a quarter you might find in your pocket change was sold for more than $1,000. Now, this doesn't mean every 2001 D Washington quarter is worth a fortune. Most are not. But here's what you should be looking for. First, check the mint mark. It should have a small D just to the right of Washington's ponytail. That confirms it's a Denver minted coin. Second, inspect both sides of the coin under a magnifying glass or take a clear photo and zoom in. Look for any signs of doubling, especially on the word Liberty, the date 2001, or the reverse features like the state outline or inscriptions. Third, check for condition. A coin in mint state, with no scratches, discoloration, or wear, is always worth more. Coins graded MS65 or higher are considered investment grade and can fetch top dollar, especially when combined with a known error. So how can you find one of these coins? Start by checking your change. Quarters from 2001 are still in circulation, and you might just stumble across one without even realizing it. Visit local banks and ask for rolls of quarters. Search through them carefully. It's a numbers game. The more you search, the more likely you are to find that valuable error or mint state coin. If you already have one, consider sending it to a third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC. A certified coin with an official grade can greatly increase its resale value. Auction houses and serious collectors trust professional grading when making high-value purchases. Let's talk about today's market trends. As of mid-2025, collector interest in error coins remains strong. The rarest and most dramatic 2001 D quarter errors are still bringing in between $500 and $2,000, depending on their condition and rarity. Even common mint state versions have gained in value slightly, especially with increased silver prices and renewed interest in numismatics during the last few years. To sum it all up, the 2001 D Washington quarter might just be a common coin, or it might be a hidden treasure worth thousands. It all depends on the details. Keep an eye out for errors. Look closely at condition. And above all, never underestimate the value of the change in your pocket. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into rare and valuable coins. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin or if you want us to cover another hidden treasure from your pocket change. Until next time, happy collecting!